Welcome to Accelerate OC, the only show focused on the people leading innovation in Orange County. Join our host, Kerry Ransom, in his conversations with the trendsetters, entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders here, because it's time to Accelerate OC.
Good morning. Welcome to Accelerate OC. I'm Kerry Ransom, and thanks always to our engineer, Paul, for making me and my guests sound so good. Today's episode is sponsored by my home here, our OC4 Venture Studio, where we are helping to build the next generation of high-growth, smarter software companies here in SoCal. So if you're looking for help with your startup, you're looking for opportunities to work with some of the most promising next-generation companies here, or want to be part of this community, you can find more about us at oc4v.com. I am super excited to have the new president of Tech Coast Angels, Orange County, David Friedman, with me on Accelerate OC today. And so before we get to hear from David, all his great investment wisdom and experiences, and no doubt some good stories and thoughts, let me tell you a little bit about him first. So he's a longtime angel investor, and as I said, just recently became president after, I think, over 10 years of involvement with Tech Coast Angels as a member. And so he'll talk about how Tech Coast Angels is organized as within Southern California as the largest also angel group, affiliated angel group in the country. And so we've had a couple chances to talk, and he's really excited to take the reins and expand the group's engagement and involvement and really collaboration within the region. And as those of you who have listened to a number of my podcasts know, that idea of further community building and collaboration is something that we are due to really keep leaning in on here to help build a better ecosystem for everyone who is pursuing their dreams as an entrepreneur and wanting to be part of it, and frankly, reigniting the high value jobs economy that we need to build upon here. So before that, David, and continues to this day, he was a longtime business executive and involved in early days of the cloud and software as a service technology, also some key infrastructure companies as well. And he has a real passion for this idea of building customer loyalty and a success culture in companies, and that, you know, by making a culture where employees really succeed and want to work there, you're going to drive a lot greater success, which I totally agree with. So I look forward to talking more about that. He also developed, and I'm going to ask him about this idea of customer jujitsu while he's helping companies bridge technology and business into more of an innovation mindset. So I want to know more about what that means. He's been involved in the commercialization of well over $1 billion in new products during his career, and worked internationally, even in areas like Europe and Asia. So he loves to build businesses, he invests in them, he loves to teach as well. So he's involved in a number of schools like UCI, as well as a Marine Institute down at Camp Pendleton, in teaching the next generation of business leaders. So he's also has this pay it forward mentality, which I always greatly appreciate. David, it is super fun to have you here on Accelerate OC today. Unfortunately, still socially distanced and virtual though.
Yeah, I think I've been spending my life being chat bombed and zoomed out. You know, yes. I've been on probably more conferences, and I guess we'll talk about this over the last several months, and seen more deals in the last 2 months than I've seen in the prior 2 months. And it's kind of interesting because you don't have to travel anywhere. You now have that opportunity.
That's right.
You know, it's to just listen in on many different things around the country, because everything's virtual.
That's right. So from a efficiency, productivity standpoint, I think it has been remarkable to see sort of the number of people you're capable of now touching in a day. But man, I do tire of seeing myself on screen. I think if you almost at times feel like you're looking in a mirror all day, and you know, it's definitely an adjustment.
Yeah, I'm putting Bradley Cooper's picture up instead of mine. It's much better to look at, frankly.
There you go. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So as I said, let's get started. So you just recently took the reins of Tech Coast Angels Orange County chapter. As you were saying off the air, how could you pick a crazier time as now to do it? But, tell us about how the first couple of months have gone.
Well, it's been interesting. I took over April 1st. And of course, wrong timing being in the pandemic to start. But, I've been involved with the last, group. Hisham Siman was the prior president. So he was the president, I was the vice president. So we worked together for a couple of years. So in essence, this is really a continuation and an expansion upon what we collectively, not only Hisham and myself, but others within TCA have built. So it has really not lost the beat. And partly it's lost a little beat because I like the personal interaction. I'm much more social. I think it's great when you can have the entrepreneurs and the angels, both together, seeing each other, pressing the flesh, so to speak. Of course, that's the way you build the relationship and build trust. This is a little too socially distant for me, although certainly you can build the relationship over time. But we had, over the past several years, developed a virtual type program. About 3 years ago, I put in place through TCA a virtual and affiliate membership program. So we do have people around outside of Southern Cal, within the country. Actually, we have people in Europe and a couple in Asia that are part of the group as well. So we've been building up this virtual membership. And because of the technology at UCI Beal Applied Innovation, we were able to early on have really, using the technology, had very good interaction. We've been doing that for a while. So in a sense, we've operated in a hybrid mode. Now we just went full virtual. So we'll get into, what we do, how we do it, but it really hasn't created that much of a problem. Little glitches here and there because we all want to be able to just jump in and talk, and that's great. So we have a little more protocol, but it has not been bad at all. In fact, it's been very positive.
Sure.
Don't want to continue it. Let me put it that way. I want to go back to normal. I do like the personal interaction. A lot more fun, more enjoyable, and I think more beneficial to everybody.
Sure. Well, talk about how is TCA approaching investments? Have you guys slowed down as far as what you're looking at? Or you mentioned you've seen a lot more, and no doubt I've sat in on a number of pitch competitions and other meetings all over the country in the last couple months. But how specifically, here in Orange County with Tech Coast Angels here, how have you guys approached the process and openness to investing right now?
Well, the process is basically pretty simple. We've changed a few things. So let me step back a second and tell you what we're doing that is an expansion upon where we have been. Okay. And we put this into place. Number one, we have a normal process. You apply online, you go through the pre-screen, and we have a medtech pre-screening led by Dr. Thomas Lee. And we have other pre-screenings led by Lisa Walker, who's our vice president and our first female vice president in Tech Coast Angels Orange County. So that's real positive.
Great. Yeah, very positive.
Once you go past the pre-screen, and we have a small group, around 8 to 13 people pre-screening the companies based upon a scoring and a voting system. We push them ahead to screening. At screening, they have the opportunity to present in front of a larger group. When we have been on site at UCI Beal, which is normally where we do our screenings, we have gone upwards of 70 people. On the virtual calls, we're running about 55 to 65, so it really hasn't tailed off that much. And we're seeing people being consistently on, line for the pre-screenings as well as the screenings. After the screenings, if we've seen interest, then we can go into due diligence. We also have a parallel path. We do work with a lot of other entities. We are syndicated with about 50 different angel groups through Richard Sudek's Angel Syndication Network. We're actually meeting on a Thursday morning. We meet the first Thursday, and we get the best deals from other angel groups, after which we do our normal meeting We meet, TCA meets twice a month on the regular screenings. So we've seen a good variety of deal flow come through. And I've mentioned the parallel path. We also put together a fund this year. So we have about 65 members in TCA, Orange County, San Diego, LA that are part of the fund. If we find a deal that has been vetted out by another entity, another angel group, one of our trusted partners, so to speak, then we may flip them directly into screening, bypassing pre-screening. And then we may put them into our fast track in our fund, which provides $100,000 for funding for a company. And we've done that a few times as well. The organization that we put together, I think, is really strong in terms of meeting our mission. Our mission is to find the best deals for our members so they can get the best return, and to be the primary source of startup capital for the entrepreneurs. And that's what we want to be able to do. We're trying to improve our deal flow, trying to add members, particularly minorities and women members in TCA as investors, and to be able to improve the awareness. So our organization, what I call the President's Council, consists of our prior past president, Hisham. We have a fund director, Jim Piquel, our executive director, Tony Saris, our head of sponsorship, which is Eric Sau. Med Armanius is in charge of our membership. We have Lisa Walker, who's our vice president and the one in charge of screening across the board. And we added 2 new positions. One is Ilko Niermeyer, in charge of events and education. And we'll talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing to improve awareness, as well as potentially improve not the literacy per se, but the understanding of new technologies by our members, as well as other events, regulations, politics that affect innovation and startup. And then Volker Huther, who is the vice president of partnerships and relationships, to expand our reach into accelerators, incubators, other angel groups, and VCs and affiliates. So we've expanded upon where we were under Hisham's leadership, and now we're trying to take that to the second level. Sorry for being long-winded, but I think that's a good premise for people to understand where we are, because I want people to reach out to these individuals to try to build that relationship with TCA.
Yeah, I think it's great to sort of set the table. So let's go a little deeper. I definitely have a lot of questions that I want to make sure we have in the community, because I agree with you that understanding, like, who are these people. Paul has talked to me a lot about over the years with OC Talk Radio, how a lot of times people just they feel like there's this mystique, and I've had the privilege of knowing a lot of those folks that you just mentioned and other Tech Coast Angel members for a long time, and I can tell you that these are great folks that want to do good things for the entrepreneurial ecosystem and want to be part of this. So I feel like part of my job is really just to help navigate and help people understand where you guys play in this whole ecosystem. So to go a little deeper, let's say I have started a company and I'm still working on my prototype. What's your guidance from Tech Coast Angel standpoint as to where do you fit at that point? Should I be reaching out to, you mentioned build relationship. Should I be looking at incubators or other places for maybe I need some early capital to get to an actual product? So how do you think about where you guys fit today in that process?
Yeah, I don't think there's an answer that is going to be the same for all companies, because I'm involved in a couple of startups and they've gone different routes. Normally, the way it works is the founder develops a team, hopefully a strong team, and an advisory group. And that's really critical. We'll come back to that theme again and again. They self-fund to a point where they may get some non-dilutive capital in terms of some grants. For example, if they're in some biotech or pharma or high technology area. they may get some friends and family to contribute. So that's going to get them to that stage where they can have something that is a prototype or an MVP. TCA comes in the early seed or late seed, bridge to A or early A. Let's say A means that you're now into the revenue and you're into the growth of revenue. That's the A stage. And we can argue whether or not it's how early is early or how late is late. But we come in after the idea is more vetted out than just an idea that's on paper. What I would recommend to people, regardless of where they are, but particularly the early part, when you're at MVP or when you're trying to get your prototype in, go to a lot of the pitch contests, see what it is, get your story straight. One of the problems that I've seen with a lot of companies, and by the way, I also do consulting on the side, you know, in my spare time. And I do that individually as well as through the Small Business Development Center. We have a good group over at UC Irvine that does a lot of the tech consulting. So you'll have people like Steve Mednick, Bill Waldo, Philip Topham, you know, Laura Beckham, that are all involved in helping these startups. But if you can't get the right message across, you really fall down, because the last thing you want to do is get to an investor and try to explain something and we have a bleary eye. We just don't get it. So one of the most important things that an entrepreneur needs to do, other than getting his team or her team together, is making sure we understand what the company is doing, or what the business or product is doing, who the target market is, why they're different, and some context of who they compete with. The one thing we don't want to hear, obviously, and you've heard this before, there is no competition. Trust me, I can tell you stories where I made that mistake. And, you know, everyone makes mistakes, and I have my share of them. But there is always some competition, even if it's only using an abacus instead of a computer.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, so it really just depends. But I would start going to some of these forums that are available, the fast pitch, the face-to-face with entrepreneurs that we have at TCA. We'll get back to that when we get back to some semblance of normalcy at the Cove.
But you would say, would you say it's safe for me to say that it's probably not a good use of an entrepreneur's time if they haven't pursued some friends and family or some self-funding to really come to TCA looking for kind of first dollars? Hey, I'm thinking about starting this, and if you guys will fund me to start it, I'll do it.
Yeah, so we don't particularly like that. I mean, it may be the greatest idea, and it may be, let me put it this way. If Elon Musk came to me and said, hey, listen, I have this great idea for a lithium battery type, you know, vehicle, and, you know, I need a few dollars to help. All my money is, you know, is tied up in a rocket ship. I would probably listen because he has that street cred. But then for the normal person, you know, we need to see that there's a passion. We need to see that there's an investment. Investment equals the fact that you are going to have that passion. You're going to put money and you're going to make this thing, you know, work out. But if he doesn't or she doesn't have money, then we can look at going to an incubator or accelerator that may like that idea. So you may find an incubator or accelerator for general technology. You may find one for life sciences. We used to have K5. We used to have Fast Start Studios. You have TechStars LA. You have 500 startups. So you do have, you know, some opportunities to work with these partners to get you started. Now, of course, they'll give you, or Expert Dojo. I want to mention that up in Santa Monica because they do a lot of work too. They will give you money, $50,000, $100,000 to get you off the line. TCA averages around $400,000, although there's a big variance, you know, in terms of how much funding. So we're the next stage beyond the incubator or accelerator. In fact, we do work with incubators and accelerators to try to get the deals coming through. So we will look at them. Those are part of our partnership program that Volta's working on.
So as you think about that, and this was actually a perfect segue to my next question, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm planning, let's say I need to go raise a $750K to $1.5 million round. Should I be looking at TCA as a portion of that? Maybe you mentioned, 400K. So maybe I could look to you guys to be, half to a third of that. Should I be thinking about you as a potential group leading? How should I be, as I really think about it, because it's probably not ideal, I would think, if I'm coming to you as my only funding source as sort of a bridge, but ideally you're probably part of a bigger round that I'm putting together. How do you guys think about that? Obviously, the answer I get is it depends, but just in general,
So the best thing I can give you is a few examples. If you come to us with a round for 750 or $1 million, and we see rounds upwards of 2.5,
sure,
we probably won't take that round. We could be the lead on the round. We really like it. I mean, remember, TCA, not Orange County itself, but the entire TCA has 450 plus angel investors. We have 5 different entities within TCA. So we can take it, if we lead the round in Orange County, we can take it to LA, we can take it to San Diego, we can take it to Inland Empire, we can take it to Santa Barbara. And we can try to get additional, resources, additional investment. Now, in some cases, we'll take the entire round. I mean, I think in the history of TCA, I think we took a $6 million, round, not a round, but $6 million investment in a company. It was, I think, a biopharma company. It went through multiple rounds and everyone got compressed, but it was a good, it's a decent deal. We took the entire round for parcel pending, over 1.2 million. We had a great 19-20x exit.
Yeah, Lori's been on my show. She's
Lori's great.
Shining star. Yeah,
Lori's great. I don't remember what we did with Green Dot, but Green Dot, as you know, is very successful. And Stephen Strite, his fund, which is SWS Ventures, is part of our affiliate program, which is great. So, I think that even if we don't take the entire round, we can syndicate it with other angel groups. But I would recommend to the entrepreneur not looking at TCA only and saying, my God, if I don't get funding from TCA, I'm out of business. We'll try to help them by sending them to other groups. So if we see a life sciences group, I'll send them maybe to life sciences angels. In fact, they're part of syndication. So, we work collectively. It goes back to the word that you used before. I wrote it down, actually. You used the word collaboration. And I believe today, because the rounds are larger, valuations are higher, collaboration is really critical. And that's probably one of the forefronts, one of the key tenets of what we're doing in TCA Orange County. I don't care if it's with TCA partners, the other networks. I just want to find trusted partners. Could be Keiretsu, we do a lot of work with them. Or it could be KOA, or it could be, Grant Van Cleve's, Hangar 75. Yeah, yours too. We want to be able to collaborate. I think that makes the most sense for us as an angel entity. Of course, we get more eyeballs on it. We can do better due diligence, as well as it helps the entrepreneur. But the entrepreneur should, participate in a lot of the ventures or a lot of the events that are out there today. Get to know the investor.
Yep.
So I trust early on.
I totally agree. I appreciate the reinforcement of that collaboration word. I think that's something we have a lot of opportunity to use and build upon. So the other one I'd love to talk about and get your thoughts on is a word I would use, leverage. And, we spend a lot of time here at our venture studio talking about how do we help entrepreneurs get leverage from all of the experience and team that we bring, and that we look at it as we bring a tremendous amount beyond capital, and we're trying to give them a lot of early operating leverage to get them launched and growing faster, which is very attractive to investors. But as you think about getting leverage as an entrepreneur who's out trying to do fundraising, there's definitely a perception, right, wrong, or otherwise, there's a perception that going to an angel group could particularly be low leverage, meaning I have to go end up going and trying to chase a bunch of people. I may be going through different diligence with different groups. And so there's potential perception risk within a big group of angels, but there's also, I would even say, within the community. So let's say we're leading as OC4, and then we come to you and say, hey, we've got a round, we'll lead it, and we'd love to have TCA's participation. What do you think about as far as how do we get better leverage as partners with these entrepreneurs to get them focused on the value creation? Because you and I would totally agree, I think, that raising capital on its own is not value creating. It's how you invest that capital in the business strategy where the value gets created, right? So any thoughts on how you think we can get better leverage?
Yeah, I think it's a complicated question. And I don't think I have the perfect answer, but there are two aspects that I can see on the leverage side. Number one, let's go back to your first, comment relating to, in a sense, smart money. So we like to believe that the advantage of going with a TCA is the fact that you have a lot of people, remember, we have 450 people. We probably have been in that business. We have some smarts.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we want to help out because we want the investment to be fruitful. All right. So one of the things that we can do for leverage is contribute to the advisory board. I mean, Grant invested in a company, going back to Grant, and I'll talk about some other ones if you want. I mean, Grant invested in a company called Buy It Installed. He became the chairman or CEO of Buy It Installed. He brought a lot of skill sets. It's great. When we looked at Lori Torres and we did Parcel Pending, she did a couple of things that were different. She's a great operations person. She put together a small marketing team that we helped early on. I got involved in it, Ray Chan and a couple of other people. And we had Hans Imhoff being involved, on the board. So one of the things the entrepreneur should look at is, are you getting just money, or are you getting money with some heft behind it? And, I'm available. My team is available. Our individual members are available to be able to help out. I mean, at UCI, you have the Entrepreneur in Residence program for the people at UCI. I think that was a great program, but you had over 400 mentors sign up. It got a little overwhelming. I think there's an opportunity to help with leverage, and it's something that you can do at OC4 Ventures. You can do it through the CEO leadership. We can try to do it in conjunction with others as well, and put together a list of vetted out mentors, advisors, where the entrepreneur can select and choose. When you know as well as I, as well as the other people who are investors listening in, the number one criteria for investing in a company is the team. The CEO is not the hero. The CEO needs a complement on that team. The team, the operational team, needs a complement on the advisory board, because the advisors can help point them in the right direction to deals, to people who they can sell to. So if you're developing an edtech product and you have some people that come out of the education market, and you have the engineers, and you have the educators, and you have the psychologists, wouldn't it be nice to have on the other side somebody that comes out of the UC Regents program or the New York Regents program for colleges, if you're selling to colleges? Or maybe you have somebody that is involved in the Unified School District in LA because you're selling to LA. You don't need them on the operational team, but they can guide you. That's smart money. And that's the advantage, because we not only can do it ourselves, but we have contacts. The other component you talked about in leverage relates to how the groups interact with each other. Now, if you're a trusted partner, and we just did a deal, we did a deal, did several. We'll talk about them in a little while. One is called Actuals. We're just putting money into them. They came to us from San Diego, one of the San Diego Angel Conference. They put together, I think, an SPV. They did the due diligence. We know the people down there, a lot of the people from San Diego, Tech Coast Angels. We took a look at their due diligence, added our own thoughts. So we use theirs as a baseline. We're leveraging their
Yeah, that's super efficient. Yeah, that's super.
And we put them into fast track. That process for the entrepreneurs to be aware of is, like, theoretically a 7-day process. We didn't exactly hit it. We try to get close.
But that's super attractive. I mean, even if it's 30 days, I think is is attractive relative to, either what, and again, I said, like, some of this is perception, and I mean, I think that's the key of why, you're keen to be out there. And I think why I want to give more of this to the community, to say, hey, like, there are people that want to do this. They understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur. They've been there, they've worked with them. This is not charity. This is investment. There is work here, but none of us is trying to reinvent the wheel to the extent we can. Right. And I think that's what I appreciate.
Right. So normal due diligence, by the way, we're trying to hit 30 days,
Sure.
for funding. So it's kind of tough to do that sometimes, depending on the complexity. But that's our goal, and we'll get better over time as we learn more and as we trust the process more. But leveraging somebody else's due diligence, I believe the people in San Diego and the people in, Life Science Angels, Frontier Angels, Pasadena Angels, San Helena, you name the whole litany of these groups. They're pretty sharp people.
Yes.
I just need to understand when I'm looking at a deal personally, I want to understand the risks. Because that's what I want to manage to. I've seen too many deals blow up because they haven't a priori looked at the risks and come up with plans beforehand.
Sure. It's sort of those, like, these are the reasons not to do this.
Well, these are the landmines.
This is what you want to see.
Yeah, what happens if it explodes?
Yeah, these are reasons not to do it. And if I understand, at least I can decide whether that's enough to not, or to move forward despite that. Yeah.
Right.
Great points. So talk about the categories that you and your colleagues are really excited about right now. Obviously, we've been thrust, there's a lot of talk about future now, where a lot of things that were starting to happen are right in front of our face and have been forced upon us, whether it's the healthcare system or virtual work. I mean, the future of the education system. There are a lot, but what are the things that Techos Angels is saying? Like, we want to see companies in these categories right now.
Boy, I love that question. I was hoping you would ask it, actually, because I remember Wayne Gretzky. He said, "I skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck has been." Remember, angel investing. We're not doing day trading here.
That's right. I have plenty of deals that have already surpassed the 10-year mark, so I get it very well. Yes.
I think So you understand the problem, but normally we're looking at deals that'll mature in 4, 5, 6 years, something like that.
If you're lucky, yeah.
If you're lucky, yeah, right. And some hopefully will evaporate a lot faster, so I can get that tax write-off. But that's why COVID-19 really hasn't affected us that much, because it actually helped us in many ways, because now we're seeing more biopharma diagnostic stuff. But let's look at where the areas, the growth areas are going to be in the next 3 to 5 years. And then I'll share with you what we're actually investing in. You'll see the correlation. It's kind of interesting. Number one, precision medicine. Okay, diagnostic as well as treatment. We're seeing this in things with macular degeneration. We're seeing it in cancer therapy. We're seeing it in diabetes. No question. We're seeing deals coming through like that. We're seeing med tech. We just invested in a company called Insight Medical. It basically is it's for orthopedic surgeons. It gives you a virtual field to look at, makes the process of surgery a lot better, faster. Of course, you can visualize things in your field of vision. We're looking at big data. We just invested in Ag Tools, which is a big data play for the agricultural commodity market. Keep our fingers crossed. We also offer them help, because it's like they could become the Bloomberg terminal of ag, because they have that. Whether they do that or not is another issue. Hopefully, with the leverage from the advisors, they can. We look at cyber and IoT. We invested in a second round in Raspberry Technologies. We look at basic technology, such as TerraCircuits, which is looking at, we just did an investment with them. We fast-tracked them. One of our colleagues, Wayne Rickard, is the CEO, which is neat. So we trusted him to begin with, and they're looking at micro LEDs. And then finally, we're looking at general software. We invested in a company called Strategicom, which is in software for the healthcare market. So we're seeing, these are the areas we see that are growing and will continue to grow over the next several years. And we're actually putting our money where our mouth is. And we've invested in these companies over the last 2 months. So it hasn't, you go back to the earlier question,
Sure.
Things have changed, but things are still going along, as we should.
Now, with those companies, some of those I think are out of the area, right? They're not necessarily headquartered in Southern California. So I just want to make sure, I have an audience that goes pretty broad. So people, there tends to be, as I understand, there's a preference for Southern California-based companies, but it's not a hard line. Is that the way to think about that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I mean, we hear this all the time. I mean, remember, TCA came about 22 years ago, and the early investments, the early angels wanted to stay close.
Sure.
Technology, as you clearly indicate, we clearly know today, you can stay close, but you can be socially distant. So it doesn't really make a difference if a company is here, where I'm on site. And remember, Parcel Pending was local. Okay, or if there's a deal that is in Chicago or New York. I asked, and the members, TCA members have said, we want to invest local, and about 80% of our investments are in, Southern Cal. But I said, what if I find, the next Amazon? Or what if I find the next Microsoft? Or what if I find, the next DocuSign? Let's use a more current one. They're not located here. Would you want me to just say, yeah, forget it, they're outside the area, I'm not going to look at it? And they said, no, if you find those are great, bring them in. Right? So,
yes.
Sure.
Just guarantee me it's going to be on that same path to, 8 years and IPO.
Right. I'll try to make sure that I only find those really good ones outside that are going to give us the 100x return.
Exactly.
So they said, okay, you can do that. I said, fine. But I'm looking, my point of view is I want to find the best deals for our investors. I go back to our mission. I want to be the best source of capital for startups. I didn't say in Southern Cal, so I want to focus in Southern Cal. I want to, help this current ecosystem. I'm a big believer in innovation in the area. But the other component is I want to find the best returns for our members. And notice I didn't say the best returns for our members by investing in SoCal companies. I want to make sure we have the best opportunity, and being syndicated with all these other angel groups around the country, has helped, get better deals in. And, you want to find the best deals. Orange County is one of many different areas where there's innovation, but there are other areas in New York, in Chicago, New Jersey. We'll give Silicon Valley a little kudo there. Washington, Oregon, Texas. So you have a lot of other opportunities. I don't want to exclude them. We go through the same process, and since we're virtual, and we have been, we can actually do the pre-screens clearly virtually, and even some of the screening.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So you mentioned a lot of other regions. You and I have both been in Orange County for quite a while. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about Orange County uniquely. As you think about the next 5 to 10 years here in Orange County, what areas do you think we should be, as a startup community, encouraging entrepreneurs to start companies in, encouraging people from outside the area to come here to work on? As you think about those industries, breakthrough industries, of the near future, what do you think those are in your mind? Are they obviously ones that you mentioned, I'm sure, but are there others that you really think about?
Well, I'm sure there are others. I mean, we always hear about marketplaces. Marketplaces are really easy. They're two-sided, right? I have somebody who wants something and somebody who wants to sell something.
Yeah, so they're just 3 times as hard to build.
Yeah, and it's also very easy to have competition. So I want to find, people who, I heard this one. This is a true story. There are a lot of senior citizens that are feeling lonely. I want to build a marketplace to allow people who are younger to talk to the senior citizens. Well, it's great. A lot of senior citizens, however, don't particularly want to get on to, the network. But if they have GrandPad, which is an investment by TCA, kind of makes sense. But I think the focus is on those areas, and that covers, a wide swath of different kinds of companies that can be in technology or software. We don't discriminate. And we're not only technology, we're seeing things, that are, consumer products. We don't do a lot of investment in it, but we see, a whole bunch of products. We saw one called Pomp and Whimsy, which is a gin product. It was really kind of cool. We're looking at a company called Genius Juice, which is coconut, milk and coconut beverages. So we're looking at things. We don't discriminate among different market segments, but the focus, the high growth areas are the ones that I believe, that I mentioned. And the interesting thing is when we look around the ecosystem, look at the schools around here, look at the quality of the people coming out of colleges. I think Richard Sudak mentioned yesterday in a discussion with JJ Risha that we have more PhDs coming out in the Southern Cal area than anywhere else. So think, we have UCI, we have Fullerton, we have SLO, we have UCLA, Pepperdine, USC, UCSD. I'm probably going to miss a school and somebody's going to be yelling at me. But the point is, we have a lot of capability within this area. And a lot of these schools have the entrepreneurial, systems in place. They do things for the entrepreneurs. They have programs for entrepreneurs. So we're seeing a lot of energy to create the entrepreneurial willpower to to grow, to build their own companies. So I think it's a perfect place. Yeah. So even if a company comes in from a higher rent area like Silicon Valley, hey, come on down here. We have the resources to be able to help you grow your company. And I think that's understated. I think people don't know the benefits of Orange County. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's still not San Francisco and Silicon Valley.
That's true.
And the resources around here are great.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now you could show, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic that, we've done a great job here in Orange County of really flattening that curve, if not even really tapping it down. And I think some of that is structural about how Orange County is organized, that we have density, but it's not not a scenario where people can't get around and still sort of do things without having big health related issues, right? So I think there are some, to your point, we haven't done a great job, partly because of, I think, the fact we have 34 cities. We're sort of this affiliated group, or we're sort of like TCA to some extent, but I think we'd be well served to have that TCA umbrella over the Orange County communities and cities to affiliate us a little more tightly.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think certainly TCA is a core entity in the startup ecosystem here. We're headquartered over at UCI Beale Applied Innovation, which is a good epicenter for it. So I'm very excited. I also want to see, I just want to put this together. We're trying to expand beyond just the startup. I think there's an issue of both intrapreneurism and entrepreneurism. I'm an intrapreneur. I came out of the corporate world of building things up, as you pointed out. I think there's a good relationship. And I think one of the things that we can do to improve the awareness is this integration of the things that people do as an entrepreneur, because we have a ready source of large companies in this area. You have BlackBerry buying Cylance. Well, why not another startup in the cyber area? We have Massimo, you have Edwards. They can look at buying some of the companies that are involved in our, startup. So I think there's a good bonding, and we should be able to focus on integrating using a more general innovation conferences to supplement those that are done by Octane with their technology forum, or TCAs, and with face-to-face with entrepreneurs.
Sure.
And other things too.
So a couple more items. I know Paul is giving me the time sign here. So
yeah, I mean,
just to finish on that topic, you mentioned this kind of entrepreneur-intrapreneur connectivity. It hasn't existed here. So what are the things, right? As you think about the larger companies here, whether it's innovation teams or corporate development or corporate venture, any thoughts on how we get more engagement from that group here locally? Most of them would say, oh, we engage in our industry, we engage globally. I've had a lot of conversations on here about kind of this, I call it the backyard challenge of a lot of folks that live here, work here, don't participate here in their backyard and really take the time. So how do you think about things we might be able to do better to really build that physical, local engagement, which I feel like now more than ever, people are going to want coming out of this stay-at-home era?
Yeah, so I think there's several areas. Number one, I think the CEO Leadership Council, which I think you're leading or are part of, and I'm now part of that too, I think can pull things together from a variety of both the startup community and the existing companies. TCA is working with Executive Next Practices and hope to bring in the Orange County Business Journal, which does a great job in reporting on technology, and pull together a half a day, maybe 1 day session at the end of the summer, early fall on innovation to bring together the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs. And I'd like to see that to become a staple within this area. I'm not sure it's going to be the only thing. And then finally, the easiest thing to do is have one central repository that says, here are all the, all the innovation type of events that are available. Right now, I don't know of any. I know Scott Fox at OC Startup Council is trying to do that. We have a whole bunch of stuff over at UCI Applied Innovation. But it would be nice to have one singular entity that puts together this list so I can go to all the events. And I'll go to the events. All my people will go to the events, and then the entrepreneurs can approach us. I mention the names because I want to be approachable. I want to help out. We want to help out, not only me, but my group wants to help out. We want to find the best deals. We want to encourage innovation.
Yeah, that's great. So final lap, David, really appreciate all that you've done, all that you've shared today. One of the things I always ask my guests to do is kind of a final thought is really that, key lesson, key piece of advice, as you're thinking about startup founders right now that are either, on the journey or are contemplating, maybe now is the time to start. What advice would you have for them?
I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice and do it in rapid fashion. I use 2 words, focus and podfu. Podfu is a made-up word.
Is that a word? I was going to say, I don't know that.
No. I'll tell you what it is. Very simple. Focus means make sure this clear. Make sure you as an entrepreneur are clear in what you want to do and how you want to do it, and stay focused in that area. Don't go after things on the side. Don't go after the shiny lure. Podfu is just the basis of making things work right operationally. Plan, organize, delegate, and follow up. It's a very key aspect. I learned that in my early career, never forgot it. Number 2, build a strong team, not only an operational team that covers the various things. Make sure you have good sales and marketing, business development, but build a good advisory group. As we talked before, look at the angel groups, look at TCA, look at the members. We're smart money. We want to help. We want to get the best investment, best opportunity for our portfolio companies, and we have talent. Leverage that talent. And finally, make sure you understand, the entrepreneur understands how to convey the message to the investor. Because if we don't understand it, we don't understand the context, it's going to be hard to get money. Entrepreneurs are under the misconception that they go to TCA or they go to, they do a 15-second or 30-second pitch and we're going to just shell out money. Doesn't work. The entrepreneur needs to realize the only thing you want to do in a presentation, just like a good sales presentation, is get the investor to say, tell me more. That's the end goal. And then you go on to the next stage. It's peeling back that onion. And in that process, you build trust. We understand the entrepreneur. We understand their capability. And we build a bond. That bond is important as you go forward. We can help you get more money. We can do it ourselves. We have partners and we have other investors we know. So those are my 3 keys for success.
That's great. Well, David, thank you so much for taking us on this journey today and sharing your great experience and perspective from Tech Coast Angels standpoint. And thank you also for doing all that you're doing in the community to support innovation, to support entrepreneurs. You are definitely doing your part to accelerate OC. Welcome to the family.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to help. Thank you for having me on the show, and glad to support you, OC4 Ventures, the CEO Leadership Council, and anything we can do to help out.
Great.
You've just listened to Accelerate OC. Join our live recordings every Tuesday morning at accelerateoc.com or listen, like, and share anytime from your favorite podcast spot. Let's accelerate OC together.